Hello, everybody. This is Pete from Paw Labs. And believe it or not, yesterday I did get some significant work done on the war game. And the video right now is going to be the next in the series on the war game. Other than the minor update one that I attached to this playlist yesterday on reusing the container in the upper left of the screen. So at this point, everything still looks the same. Um, and we are up. Okay, so we can launch the game. And I've got the mini map in place now. I don't need you. I still haven't done the expanding the screen and making it work. I did put the background, the window actual itself is in black, so it outlines in a black, which I like that. I think that's a nice setup. So we got the current turn is 0. Well, that's correct because we haven't started the game yet. We move to 1 when the cycles of the game begin. So I do have these guys in place, and I've almost got it to where it selects a hex. I have it tracking the row and column, which is all cool. But that's that's a relatively a minor update to what I did yesterday. The work yesterday was mostly, well, aside from some of the stuff on the server. Let's see. What is it? Game player, right? Game player. There you are. Okay, so let's see. We have the cursor mapping. Um, Let me scroll around here a little bit and point a few things out. I'm fixing to have the selection of the map to be active to where it will select the hex. And then I started to build the infrastructure for selecting a hex and identifying what was selected. Okay, so we have this function called check city. So these three functions right here, check for unit, get the terrain, and check city, work off of row and column. And this is where the the work is actually being done, where we're sending a network string of get unit at row and column to the server, and we're expecting to receive back an index, the index to the unit that is in that cell. Now, the cell will either be a -1 or it's going to be the index of the unit that's there. Let's see, same with city. That works exactly the same. Give me the city index of the city that is in the selected row and column. So uh, and then terrain just is going to return the list of detail graphics that is in the actual hex. And I want to show you that where the work is actually being done is back here on the server. And I had to flip the entire server code upside down because in the beginning, at the top of this code, we had all of the functions that are called, and then at the very bottom of the code is where he starts up the server and then calls back to start the thread of execution on the server to be up and running. So I had to kind of flip that upside down to where now he actually has declares, and we come into the server now, and it's actually the code that's building the server and going to start this process. Now, the work is beginning is right here. So what I've done is the first thing we do is we import the game file, and that's loading up. The game is actually being loaded in the server. and we select the current indexed map, and then we instantiate and create. Oh, well, I did do this, but I think I'm going to take that off. But that remains to be seen. No, I can't remember. We'll have to go see. I spent all morning working on getting. Last night I had all this written, and it all compiled, but then nothing worked this morning when I got ready to make the video. So I spent half my morning getting this to operational, and so now it's I've made quite a number of changes, but it works. So what I've done is dimension a terrain grid and a user's grid. Okay, so the terrain grid is a grid. This is a two-dimensional array, and it is of layer hex. So what I've done is create a replica of our game map by row and hex, and have each cell of that array is a layer hex object. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is load all the layer hexes into this array, and then all I have to do is say, at row hex of this array, grab that and send it back. At row hex, we do one for the units, to where we can say a unit grid is the same thing. He's building up here that the unit grid is a two-dimensional array of, he's just an integer. And then what I'm doing is loading the index into the grid. After first clearing it all and making it all -1, I then just put the units in. So at row and column, I know that there's a unit there. So this will have to get tweaked, because we are going to have the capability of having multiple units there. I think we've decided that we're going to be able to stack 2 units. So this will actually have to be a value of 2 units, which is fine. We can modify this without much trouble. First, we'll get it working, and then we'll get it slick. Okay, so then what we do is we spin the entire map grid layer. See, I am using work map. I thought I put that back. Okay, so we list the map grid layer correction. We do a whole spin of this collection. We select the elements. I assign a pointer to the actual object that is selected. So now I can just play with him and not have to play with a great big monstrous sentence. We can then iterate his layer collection. And then what we're doing is getting a physical reference to the hex, not a pointer. We've actually created a new guy, so I have to come in here. Well, I can't delete him, because he then gets transferred into here. So the grain, I think, yeah, I think I can delete him. Okay, yeah, I got to clear that hex out. I think I'm going to regenerate him a billion times right there. So there's some more tweaking to be done here to make sure I don't have a memory loss. Because if I've created him here, and then I set the terrain grid row hex and column equal to him, so now we have basically made this cell look like him. So I don't need him anymore. So I can probably dispose him and then just regenerate him right here. So anyhow, that being aside. So then we drop into actually doing the mutex. The mutex here is, I kind of glossed over that on the initial video of this. Mutex forces the system to run code in thread instance. So as you have multiple threads, remember this spawns threads, the server could be hit by 10 different questions at a second, and it's forcing the server to go in thread order process the thread, then get to the next one. Don't jump around all over the place and get your thread screwed up. It's forcing it to run in thread order. Okay, so the next things that I did in here is down at the bottom of here. So I've built a get terrain command, and get terrain is the package looks like this. Okay, so we're going to say get terrain, give me the row and then the column separated by the pipe symbols. Now, what I can then do is derive, here's the row, it's field 2, this is field 1 in the string, this is field 2, and that's field 3. So what we can do is say row is string field person text 2, divide by that. So it returns the row value. I turn it back into a number. Same with column. And then I can call my function here of, hey, this person asked for the terrain of row and column. That, go send it to him. Okay. And what he's going to do is then, well, let's go look. We'll jump there. I'm going to hold down Control and jump straight to the function and double click it. And this guy comes in. All he has to do, this is some really slick code. And when you sit down and think about it, it's kind of mind blowing. What we do is all I have to do is grab the terrain array at row column and get a pointer aimed at him. And then I can come in and convert that pointer to a string using JSON. And then I send the JSON back to the client where he can turn it right back into an object and deal with it as an object. And I've passed this little string back and forth to let him know what's going on. Pretty slick, isn't it? So it does the same thing with getting the unit index. The unit index is the same thing, except he's just getting a number. And so what we want to do is I get the index of row and column. And remember, -1 is it's nothing. 1 is, or 0 or higher is the index of the value. So this will probably change to a string that will be, unit 1 pipe, unit 2 pipe, unit 3. And then we can just iterate it at the other end. So, but I haven't converted it to where it can deal with multiple people yet. So anyhow, that's the kind of trick that the server is going to use to answer questions, okay? All we have to do is know the row and column and then ask the server to return the value to us. So in this manner, you've turned this whole, searching for the terrain and the grid. This is where your whole object layer of all those nested modules comes into being so very sweet, because all I have to do now is say, here's an array, go to point, column 3, row 2, get the intersection of that cell and send it back. That's an instantaneous query. You're not spinning through a list looking for a match. Sadly, that's what we have to do for the cities, but it's not a big deal because there's only a half a dozen cities or a dozen cities on a map. So in a game like this, so even if it was all the way up to 100 of them, the system, the software is so fast it'll do that instantaneously as well. So we've culled all of these tough concepts into just a simple array of objects, and then we just pass back the array of object. So anyhow, that's really the gist of this video, to show you how this is proceeding and to show you this trick of turning the objects of our game, loading them into an array, and now I can reference them by X and Y coordinates and have the data instantaneously and never have to spin through the multiple sets of collections that it actually is. I can just load it up once and use it for the whole game. So that's the end of this video. Thank you all for watching.